What's up, you guys? Welcome back to Young Money Investments. Thanks for bearing with me through that corny, cheesy intro there. But in today's video, we are talking about none other than the king of Instagram. We are talking about Dan Bilzerian, and we are talking about his company, Ignite Cannabis, which is a cannabis company based out of Canada. Now, why are we talking about this here on Young Money Investments when he's famous for traveling around the world and his Instagram girls? We are talking about him today because Ignite has now recently went public on the United States Stock Exchange. It has went public on the over-the-counter or OTC markets. Should you buy it? Should you sell it? Should you touch it at all? We're going to cover all that today here on Young Money Investments. All right, you guys, so before we get talking about Ignite Cannabis, ticker symbol BLIZF, we need to talk about the elephant in the room, and that is none other than Dan Bilzerian himself. Now, Dan Bilzerian is obviously a famous multimillionaire, valued or roughly estimated that his net worth is somewhere right around $150 million. Most famous for making money playing poker in like high stakes poker games. I think it's rumored that he one time made $10.8 million or something like that in one night playing poker with some different billionaires. So Dan Bilzerian, that's kind of how he got his start. Obviously, he's very famous for his guns, his love of guns. He was, I think, discharged from the Navy SEALs a few days early. And he's just mostly famous for all of his Instagram models that accompany with him wherever he travels around the world in his private jet. With that being said, I think that is the reason I want to talk about him first before we talk about Ignite, is because really the brand itself is kind of a culminating project that Dan has created and kind of crafted through his social media status, through the frenzy that is Dan Bilzerian on Instagram, which will then translate into a lot of advertising for his cannabis company. Now, Dan Bilzerian obviously is not the first into this space. There are much larger companies when it comes to cannabis. We have Aurora, or ticker symbol ACB, which I believe has a market cap somewhere right around $5.16 billion, according to Finviz. And then you also have Tilray. Tilray, I believe, has a market cap of right around $2.84 billion. There's a few other companies, but I think Tilray and ACB are probably some of the bigger ones that I personally have seen in the cannabis space. Now, the cannabis space obviously is pretty crowded for being such a new industry, as it is obviously getting legalized. Canada is one of the places where it is nationally legalized, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but I'm fairly certain. In the United States, it's federally not legal, but you have a lot of states that it is currently either legal in for medicinal purposes, or like in Washington and Oregon, it is actually, at least Washington and Colorado, I know for sure, it is recreationally legal to use marijuana. After being honorably discharged from the Navy following a 4-year service, Dan attended the University of Florida, where he majored in both business and criminology. He then went on to become one of the world's most successful professional poker players, winning over $50 million in a single year, despite not adhering to any social norms, and continued to be apologetically himself. He developed a flawless, trustworthy reputation within the gambling community for always doing what he said he would do. It's a mindset that he's carried with him into numerous investment opportunities, business ventures, and personal pursuits, creating an empire. Now he's focused on building the most trusted brand in the cannabis industry. In his words, "I've never half-assed anything I've cared about. Anything I do at the highest level, on the highest level, and Ignite is going to top everything I've done before. I'll spare no expense, cut no corners, and do whatever needs to be done in order to build Ignite into a world-renowned cannabis brand." Now, one of the things you can always do is you can always go on the website here. In fact, you can check out kind of their story. They talk a little bit about the product and everything. Kind of switching over, you can see our story. You can read the Ignite story, the Ignite process, the flower power, like all this stuff that honestly, you guys, I have no idea about. I know nothing about marijuana, to be honest with you. I know like very little. So while I don't know a whole bunch about marijuana, I do know that Dan Bilzerian is a great marketer. Now, obviously, as you can see here, he is very into the whole social media game. He has amassed a massive following of nearly about 28.5 million followers, and it just continues to grow over time. I think one of the crazy things about Dan is he doesn't care what other people think. That is a huge, great characteristic when it comes to business. And one of the great things about social media and having such a massive following is that he gets a ton of free advertising. Like, he literally could monetize this tomorrow for Tide, and he could be making hundreds of thousands of dollars probably marketing on his social media. But what does he do? He's really saved this brand that he's created and wants to use it for something he's passionate about, and that is the cannabis industry, specifically with his Ignite company. One of the other things that I do know about cannabis that I think is really interesting is the profit margins are massive. So the margins on cannabis are huge. One of the things Dan obviously has done with that is he has used it to pay for all of his traveling and paid for the countless, like tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars that he spends on his hens, as he calls them. So you can see all these girls obviously wearing Ignite clothing. They go on trips with him. That is all paid for with the product, most likely, that he is obviously selling through Ignite. So like I was saying, pros, obviously, of cannabis is that the profit margins are huge. There are huge margins in that industry. The con is, though, that he is spending a ton of money on marketing. I don't know exactly what the cost is, or what it all adds up to be. Obviously, with this company just IPOing, and especially with it being on the OTC markets, there's not as much regulation, and so we have very little knowledge to go off of for the stock price. Is it profitable? What's he spending on marketing, etc., etc. Oh, hey, one more thing before we keep going. Hit that thumbs up button, please. Would love for you to do it. If you see value in the information that I've provided so far, please hit that thumbs up button. Turn on the subscribe button and the bell notification, and let's keep going. And this brings us to the charts. Let's take a look at the charts for this company and kind of take a look at what the stock price has done so far. All right, you guys. So the ticker, like I said, is BILZF, kind of like Bilzerian, I believe. And then one of the things here is it IPO'd right here at roughly $1.45. We have seen lows all the way down here to 75 cents, and we are currently seeing it trading really close to the IPO price. Today it had a massive spike of roughly around 35%, and you're getting a lot of volume. If one thing you will notice here is it spiked quite a bit today. Now you're going, why did it spike today and why are you making a video? Well, this is the reason that I'm making the video. We see here on his Instagram profile that he is talking about his stock, about the ticker symbol, and like he says on here, for all you asking how you can invest, call your broker. He is marketing this stock right here on his Instagram profile to over 28 million followers. And with that being said, what did it do to the volume? We're seeing a spike right here of about 536,000 shares in volume just here alone. The next closest candle would probably come right in here, and that was a volume of around 46,900 shares, and that's for a 1 hour period. So Dan actually posted this on his Instagram right here towards the end of the day, and boom, a spike. Like I said, a massive spike in volume. So this is what's really crazy. You are going to have to be understanding that there are going to be massive volume spikes solely due to the fact that social media will influence it, and these are going to be a lot of people that do not trade stocks. So that is going to be kind of the crazy ride of Dan Bilzerian's company, and trading it based upon these market fluctuations with people that do not trade stocks. Now, what does that do for you as someone that actually does trade stocks? That gives you the ability to actually prey, so to speak, on those that are less informed, doing your own due diligence, doing your research, and that's what we're doing right now. So my biggest suggestion right now is obviously with the RSI extremely oversold, right, or overbought. We're at about a 77.5. Wait for this to pull back. There's no options to short this right now. I checked to see if I could short this on the OTCs. There are no shares shortable, so you are not able currently, at least on Trade Zero that I saw, to short BLIZF. With that being said, I think that there is a lot of opportunity to be able to trade the dips and valleys, the peaks and pulls, especially at this price right now in the stock. I think that if you can pick it up somewhere down here in that 90-cent range, that gives you a potential profit of about 63%. Now, why would I be hesitant to put any sort of large amount of money in this company? Because it's an over-the-counter penny stock. This stock is crazy small. The volume is very small as well. You just got to be careful. You really need to be careful trading a company like this. With that being said, because of the social media influence that Dan Bilzerian has, I believe that this ticker does have a lot of potential to actually be influenced and manipulated in positive and negative ways, depending on which side of the ticker you're on, in order to make you some money. Now, a couple of cons that you probably will see with this stock and you need to be aware of is the fact that we have no idea how good of a businessman Dan Bilzerian really is. In one hand, I love to think that he's this great business tycoon that knows exactly what he's doing. On the other hand, I sometimes look at him as like a P.T. Barnum. Like, is he just a showman? Is this all just a big cloud of smoke from an Ignite pen? Like, what's going on? Second problem, there is a ton of excess supply of cannabis in Canada right now, and really in several of the United States. I know, especially here in Washington, and Oregon actually, there is a lot of excess cannabis that is being exported legally and illegally because there's too much. They've grown too much of that. And so is there too much supply right now in the cannabis market, and do we need more markets for this company to be able to sell its product? Now, I will say this, CBD oil without THC is also some of their other products. Those products are more readily available in other states. But again, you know, they're pushing THC as well, marijuana with THC products. So I wouldn't just say, oh, if they're just making CBD products, you know, they're great, they're going to go to the moon. No, you can't think that way. Third thing is, again, obviously with Aurora Cannabis and Tilray being some of the big players with billion-dollar market caps, we have no idea what the market cap, what the actual foundation, what the fundamentals are of Dan Bilzerian's company really is. With these other companies being valued in the $1 to $2 billion range, actually $2 to $5 billion range, really, where does Dan's company fall in? It's hard to say, and that's why you're getting in at a very risky stage. We're talking about within the past several weeks, this company IPO'd. How low could it go? How high could it go? That's another one of those risky things you got to take into consideration. So what's my take on the stock? Do I recommend that you get into it? Do I recommend you stay out of it? Honestly and truly, from a large investment standpoint, I say you do not get in a large investment at this time. This company is too early. It's too new. It's an over-the-counter penny stock. I always say never invest in these companies because you're investing in a gamble. And really, honestly and truly, this is a gamble at this point. Does it have the potential to run up? Absolutely. With the social media marketing that Dan Bilzerian has perfected and done extremely well at, this company could really see a large potential. But I've also read comments on his Instagram where people say that the marijuana and stuff that he produces is garbage. So is he creating an inferior product in the consumer's eyes in order to pay for all of his lavish expenses and things like that? Is he a P.T. Barnum? Is he, again, just a flashy businessman, fly-by-night kind of thing? We have yet to see. And so if you are going to make an investment or make a trade in this, again, I would say no investment. If you're going to make a trade, I would say getting in there in the sub-dollar range is your best bet in order to turn a profit. But again, this is a trade. I would not recommend investing in this in the long term. And that's just my personal opinion. At this age and stage of the company, it's never a good idea. I don't like to mess around with IPOs. But again, this is Dan Bilzerian. This is the social media age that we live in. And he mixes two incredible forces, women, drugs, and social media all into one crazy cocktail. And that's why this is going to be a very interesting stock to continue to watch. All right, you guys, thanks so much for tuning into Young Money Investments. If you have any other questions, if you have any other comments about this, please put them down in the comment section below. Smash that thumbs up button, turn on the bell notification, subscribe to the channel. I would love to have you here on a more consistent basis to go over popular ticker symbols as well as some maybe less known tickers that we are getting into and have some potential to make you some money. Catch you guys in the next video. Bye.